When we first started creating our 4-page Virtual Summit sales funnel inside of ClickFunnels, I showed you that in fact we're actually going to be creating 2 funnels. Well, sort of. One of them is your actual 4-page sales funnel. We've already put that together. And the second grouping of pages isn't really a sales funnel, but rather it's all of the live interview pages that we're going to use for posting the videos during the actual Virtual Summit. I'm going to show you how to create those in this video. Our first step is to click this Add New Funnel button. Now, a landing page is only one page. If we choose any one of the more complicated sales funnels that ClickFunnels presents us with, we're just going to end up having to delete a lot of pages because we won't need them. So I'm going to go ahead and click the absolute simplest sales funnel that ClickFunnels will allow me to do, which is the Collecting Emails funnel. So I will click Collect Emails from the left-hand side here. And you'll notice that the funnel steps it's going to give me is an email landing page and then a thank you download page. We're actually only going to need one of those, so we'll end up deleting one, and then we're going to edit the other page to our liking. So I'll show you how to do that when we get there. But first, we need to indicate the name of this funnel or this group of landing pages. So somehow you just need to indicate that it is the live broadcast pages or live interview landing pages. I'm going to call mine the Virtual Summit Template Live Broadcast Pages. And just like I've been grouping everything else in this course together, I'm going to select the group tag as Virtual Summit Templates. Then we click Build Funnel. Our funnel has been successfully created, but you'll notice on the left-hand side, ClickFunnels has pre-populated 2 separate pages. And in fact, to create a landing page, we only need one. So I'm going to go ahead and click this red X on the thank you page and delete it. Great, so now we only have one page to start with that's going to be our landing page. Now the idea here is that we are going to pick a landing page and we are going to perfectly design it exactly how we want the broadcast page to look. Then when we've got it to our liking, anytime you want to create a new landing page for a guest speaker, because you're going to need one for every single speaker, all you would need to do is clone this page, which I will show you how to do when we're finished. Now, because we had chosen in the beginning that we wanted this to be a collect emails sales funnel, ClickFunnels automatically assumes that the very first page in our funnel is going to be an opt-in page. Did you know that in ClickFunnels, you don't actually have to choose just from the templates that ClickFunnels presents to you here when your sales funnel is pre-populated, but rather you can go up here to all of these other different options and you can change the page type if you like. Now, not surprisingly, the webinar broadcast room templates have a lot of really fantastic templates for putting videos on them. So let's click that category. You'll notice whenever I click that I have several templates here that I've actually created and made perfect for my own personal uses. If you are using ClickFunnels in a different account, obviously, you're not going to see these templates right here on this first row. You're going to see these templates down here. Now, even though these templates say things like auto webinar or Google Hangouts webinar, it's okay. We are not actually going to be creating an auto webinar or a webinar of any kind inside of ClickFunnels. We're just going to be using the auto webinar template. So you can ignore the name and simply focus on the template design that you like. If you are interested in creating a landing page design that is similar to the one that I've shown you that I have used and created for Infopreneur Summit, then you're going to want to pick auto webinar broadcast order. When you do that, the page will be automatically created. Now we're going to go in and design the page. So scroll down and click the yellow Edit Page button. That's going to bring up the ClickFunnels editor. You'll notice right away when you go inside the ClickFunnels editor for this landing page that it already looks very similar to the landing page design I showed you in the previous lesson in this module. And that's a good thing, because if we can choose templates that are closest to what we really want our pages to ultimately look like, that means the less work for us having to change this page all around. But nonetheless, there's still several things on this page we are going to have to change in order to mimic the design that I showed you in the previous lesson. The first thing you'll need to do is add an additional section above the topmost section you see on this page. So I'm going to do that right now. Let's add a new section. We'll choose a full width section. And I'm going to choose the up arrow in the left-hand side here to move this section above to the very top. In this section, I want to have a row that has 2 columns in it. On the far left-hand side of the column, I'm going to add a headline element, which is going to allow me to add the actual name of my summit. If you had a logo for your summit, you could put an image here instead. On the right-hand side, I'm going to add a button. I'm going to customize this button to encourage people to click it to upgrade to the All Access Pass. While viewers on the summit are watching these free interviews being broadcast on the live event, we want to encourage them as often as possible to upgrade to that All Access Pass so that we can bring in more revenue. So making it very easy to do so by adding extra buttons to our interview landing pages is one swell way to do that. You can customize your button to match whatever visual brand you have for your summit. However, when it comes to setting the action for that button, I would encourage you to either put a link here to the sales page for your All Access Pass, or why not just put a link to the order form directly so people can immediately be taken to the page where they can put in their credit card information and buy that pass. Therefore, you're going to put in the unique URL that's going to lead directly to the order form that you created as a part of your funnel. And I recommend choosing from this drop-down menu that you open that particular tab in case somebody clicks on that button in a new window so it doesn't interrupt the interview that they're already watching. From a formatting perspective, I do recommend that you click the Advanced tab and move this button all the way to the right-hand side. It's all the way down at the bottom. Under Button Align, change it to Right. Of course, you're welcome and encouraged to change the color of the text, the background of the section, in order to make it more visually appealing to match your brand. And I would also encourage you to change the amount of padding that is around the section and the row so that it is much thinner at the top of your page. You can do that again by clicking the gear icon on the section or the row and columns and scrolling down to the areas where you see padding, and you can simply reduce that until you get it as thin as you like. If you'd still like to make it even thinner, you can also reduce the font size of each one of the elements like the text and the buttons that you have put on this page. Don't forget every once in a while to save your work, because ClickFunnels automatically in this editor doesn't save. Now, the first time that you save a page, ClickFunnels is going to ask you to update the SEO and metadata information on the page. Because this is a landing page where you'll be showing the interviews for each one of the guest speakers, I recommend using something generic, simply like the name of your summit. We're not going to make these pages searchable. We don't want people to find them online, so it's not even necessary or relevant for you to put in a description, keywords, or any social sharing images or anything like that. And in fact, if you want to be extra sure that people aren't going to be finding these pages on web browsers and other search engines, you can come up here to Settings and click General. And you'll want to make sure that in search engines, you click this drop-down menu from Show to Hide, and that's going to prevent these pages from showing up in Google or Bing or other search engines like that. And remember, that's the way we want it, because to execute the summit properly, we want to force people to have to register in order to get these links to watch. We don't want them to be able to find them online, because then we won't be able to get their email address and we won't be able to prompt them to purchase the All Access Pass. Now, in the section right below the topmost header, I usually write the name of the talk and also my name as the host and the name of the speaker being featured on this page. For example, if I was featuring an interview with lawyer Jackie Stoughton, who has been on my Infopreneur Summit before, the title of her talk might be Legal Issues for Your Blog with me, Bailey Richard, and Jackie Stoughton. That lets everybody know as soon as they land on the page what is being discussed in this interview and who is giving the interview. That's myself as the host, and also the guest speaker who is being interviewed. Now, for those of you out there who say, is it really necessary for the host to put their name and photo, as we'll see in a second, on this page? I would say yes. The virtual summit that you are hosting is an opportunity for you to connect with your audience at every single moment. There's going to be a lot of cold traffic and new people discovering you and your business through this summit. So you want to make sure that at every turn they have an opportunity to understand who you are. You'd like to think that they're watching every single interview, but the reality is that a lot of viewers are not. And this might be the first interview that they've tuned into on the summit. So you want to make sure that they're aware of who exactly is hosting this event and who is interviewing that guest speaker. Now, one of the things that I love about the design of this page to begin with is the fact that it already has some pre-populated photos, names, and titles of the hosts of what would normally be a webinar on this page over here on the right-hand side. Now, the topmost picture, I always make my own photo, and there's a couple reasons for that. As the host of the summit, I want people to see me first, but there's also some visual consistency that I'd like to consider. Every single speaker is going to be placed on an interview page that's going to look exactly like this one. I'm going to show you how to clone it as soon as we're done designing this page in just a minute. And therefore, every single time the viewers go to these pages, they're going to see the same page but with slight changes. Therefore, if your image is the one at the top, it's always going to be in that spot, and it's the bottommost photo that'll rotate out as the guest speaker interviews change. So I think that's most visually consistent for the viewers who are watching the summit. So you've already seen how to change an image element lots of times before, but just to remind you, you can either click on that image or the gear button, and it'll bring out from the right-hand side all the properties about that image. To change it, simply click here in Image, and you can choose a photo from the library of pictures that you have already uploaded to ClickFunnels, or you can upload another one of your own. After scrolling through a couple of pages, I have found my headshot, and I'm going to double-click that to add it to the page. I'm also going to add Jackie Stoughton's picture in this page because we've said that this is an interview with her, and I'm going to update the names and the titles of us below our images so people at a glance know exactly who we are. Now, over here on the left-hand side of the page, you'll notice this gigantic video editor. This is where the interview with your guest speaker is going to be broadcast. However, we don't want to put the video that you have recorded with your guest speaker on this interview landing page yet. If we do that, it's possible that people are either going to find the page through a browser. It can happen. People might guess the correct URL where they can watch the page, or, and this is really where the main issue lies, if you give the links to the viewers to watch these interviews before the interviews are supposed to go live according to the agenda that you have set, all they need to do is click on those links in the email, go to these pages, and then the videos are going to be there. We're not going to be posting the videos until the summit actually goes live in accordance with the agenda that you have created. Now, we are going to talk a lot more about that in the implementation or the event execution module of this course. So it's not something I want you to concern yourself about too much right now, only to let you know that you should not be embedding the videos with your guest speakers on these pages. In fact, we want this area of our page to be completely blank, and therefore when you click on that element, I'd like you to go into the custom embed here, highlight the information that's already been automatically populated, and delete it. ClickFunnels is going to automatically put some sort of ClickFunnels marketing video in there, and we don't want to show that either because it's not really on brand with our summit. So if you simply go to custom embed and then you delete that video embed code, there's not going to be anything shown on this page. And later you can put that video in there, which we'll talk about in a different video in a different module in this course when it comes time to execute your summit. Now, lastly, I'd like to scroll down to the bottom of the page here, and I want to let you know that the template that I have selected here for this particular landing page has an additional section which I don't particularly like, and therefore I encourage you to delete it, but I want to explain why. The section that I am going to be deleting here is a little widget for Facebook comments. Now, if you were going to be doing a live webinar or even an auto pre-recorded webinar or something, you might think it was a wise idea to put some sort of chat widget or Facebook comments widget like you see here that could allow viewers to ask questions. Now, on a virtual summit, that's not necessarily a bad idea, except that it means you as the host and also the guest speaker are going to constantly have to return to each one of these landing pages during the course of the summit to see whether or not people are posting questions and comments. Now, because this is a Facebook comments widget, there's no way for you to get any kind of notifications. You don't get email notifications, you don't get notifications on Facebook if somebody were to comment on this page. And therefore, it's highly likely that if you forget or you're not visiting these pages frequently enough, you're going to miss comments and questions, and it's going to look like you as the host or the guest speaker are being non-responsive and not really engaging with people on the summit. And that's definitely not the kind of impression that we want to give. So what I do instead is completely delete these sections from this interview page. And instead what I do is I encourage everybody who is watching these videos to join in discussion with me and with my guest speakers in a different way. For me, it's in my Facebook group Infopreneur Community. For you, it might be something similar. It might be a Facebook group that you own. It might be a Slack channel. You might simply say, tweet at us using this hashtag or something like that. I think that there is a much better way to execute the communication between the viewers and the host and the guest speaker than to use comment widgets like this on your interview pages, especially because if you are going to be running your summit for the first time, or maybe you have a small audience and you're expecting that your summit is going to be a little bit on the smaller side, it can also not look very good if nobody is commenting or nobody's having discussion on each one of these pages, or if somebody's interview is getting lots of comments and somebody's interview is not getting any comments. Rather, bringing all of the discussion into one place through a Facebook group or Slack channel or something like that is a much better way to increase the momentum of that discussion. So that's why I completely delete that bottom part here on these pages. However, there is another element that I do add below the video, and that is an additional upgrade to the All Access Pass button. Now, a really quick way that you can handle this is to clone the button from up top and drag it all the way down on the page below this video editor. You can simply click on the button then and make some changes. For example, you could recenter it instead of having it be to the right. You could add some more padding to the top so that it's a little bit below that video editor. You might add some subtext that says something like the price. If you do that, remember that you need to put the price that the pass is going to be during the summit. People are going to be accessing these pages and watching them during the summit, not before or after, so make sure you have the appropriate price listed there. You might choose to increase the font so that the button is a little bit bigger underneath the video element as well. And one additional little touch that I like to add is a photo, a stock photo that ClickFunnels has of the little credit card icons that lets people know that this is an item that they can buy. So to do that, you can add an image element, click the element, and instead of choosing a photo that you already have, simply go up to Stock. And you'll notice that they have some credit card icons that you can choose here. Don't choose the one that has PayPal in it because we're not giving them an option to pay through PayPal on our order forms. We're only giving them an option to use credit cards because we're taking their payments through Stripe. So make sure you click the one that only has the 4 credit cards there. And you might want to click that image and make it just a little bit smaller. You could put in the width here as something like 200 pixels or something like that, so it's not too big. Now, the upgrade to the All Access Pass button isn't the only type of button that we want to put on this interview landing page. You might have noticed if you were looking at the model of the interview landing page I already had designed from the video before in this module, there's one extra button, which is a different color on this page, and that goes right below our guest speaker. Just for convenience sake, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this All Access Pass button and drag it over here underneath Jackie's picture, but we're going to make lots of changes to this button to make sure that it looks different and actually serves a different function. This is the button that we are going to use to allow people who are watching the interviews to download the freebie or lead magnet being offered by the guest speaker on the interview. The text you might want to write on this button could be something very specific, like download Jackie's free course about privacy policies or something like that, or it could be really generic. If you wanted to clone every single page for each speaker, which I'm going to show you how to do as soon as we exit this editor towards the end of this video in a minute, and you were using the same text on this button, you would not have to update it for every single speaker, so you could save yourself a little bit of time. So you could say something here on the button text like, download your freebie now. Now, we don't want this button to be quite as large as our upgrade buttons because we want it to be a little bit less conspicuous. Still, we don't want to hide it, but it doesn't need to be as big. So I'm going to reduce this font size to maybe 20. Something else I like to do with these buttons also is to change the color. I don't want all 3 buttons looking the same, the button at the top for the pass, below the video for the pass, and then this one for their freebie, because they're serving different functions. So depending on what your brand and visual colors are for your summit, you can pick a different color. Mine would maybe look something like green to match my purple. And of course, you're going to want to change the actual link where this button goes to. So you'll click the green set action here, and instead of the order form, you're going to change this to be a URL that is the link that was provided to you by the guest speaker when you were collecting information from them in the beginning when you were organizing your interview with them. You should have asked them for their headshot, their bio, and a freebie lead magnet URL. This is going to be, just for clarification here, this is going to be a landing page that they have set up. It's going to allow them to collect email addresses if they're so inclined by offering a freebie or lead magnet to the audience that is watching on this summit. So if they're interested in growing their email list, which is one of the perks of being a speaker on your summit, then this is the way they're going to do it. So you are not the one who is going to set up the landing page for this guest speaker. This should be a link that they will provide you, and all you need to do is plop it right in here. Now, I don't know what Jackie's actual lead magnet is, so we're just going to call it jackiestoughton.com/freebie, just as an example here. And again, I do recommend that you have this drop-down menu set to open in a new tab or window, so if someone clicks it while they're watching the interview, the page does not refresh and they don't stop watching the interview, they don't lose their place. So that is the last element that you want to add to this page. Make sure before you exit that you save your work. And now we're going to head outside of this version 2 editor here in ClickFunnels so that I can show you how to do a couple more things you'll really want to know to help you out with these interview landing pages, including cloning the pages, which I've mentioned several times in this video already, and also updating the URLs specifically to be using our custom virtual summit domain. The first thing I need to show you is how we're going to change the custom domain for this page. You'll notice when we created the page that it was automatically populated with the baileyrichard.clickfunnels.com subdomain, and we want to use our actual custom domain for our summit. So the easiest way to do this is to come over to Settings, and under the Domain tab, we are going to select the custom domain that we would like to use for this set of pages. In keeping with what we've done in this course, I'm going to select Infopreneur Bundle. Don't forget to scroll all the way down and save this change. Now you'll notice that our page is now with the right domain, but we need to change the path. The reason that you'll want to change the path is because it's going to make it significantly easier for you to stay organized, and also significantly easier for the viewers watching the summit if you choose a path that's related to the speaker's name. So come up here under the Publishing tab, and I recommend choosing a path that's really obvious. In this case, we were talking about an interview with Jackie Stoughton that'll be showed on this page, and therefore I'm going to put her name as the path. I also recommend changing the funnel step name to be her name as well, or the speaker's name, I mean, because that's going to make it so much easier for you to understand which page goes to which speaker after you've created one for each one of your speakers. There's going to be a lot of pages. Now again, I'm simply going to copy this path because after we update, we have to go back to the overview page and click the little gear icon and change the path and the funnel step name here as well. Now you will notice that because this was a webinar template, that we are also given an option to add in a webinar event time. Just leave that blank. We are not running a webinar. It is irrelevant to what we are doing with this page, so you don't need to fill in anything. Just scroll down and click Update Page. Now, as I mentioned, we will discuss this a little bit further in depth during the event execution module of the course, but eventually, when you are informing your virtual summit registrants about how they can watch these free interviews for a limited period of time, it is this domain right here, infopreneurBundle.com/Jackie-Stoughton, or in your case, whatever domain it is, whatever URL it is that you've created, that you will be sharing with those registrants to tell them how they can watch that interview. Remember, the All Access Pass membership area is only for people who've paid to upgrade to the All Access Pass. These interview landing pages that we are currently creating are for people on the summit to watch for a limited amount of time those free interviews. Now, the next thing I want to show you here is how we can use the clone button in order to clone this page. You've already gone through the effort of creating the design of this page so that it's perfect according to how you want it for your actual summit, right? So it's going to be quite a pain and also a waste of time if you add a new step to the funnel and then redesign the page every single time for every single speaker. And you're not going to get everything 100% right when you do that, so the pages will always look slightly different. Well, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a way you could make sure the pages always looked identical? Well, you can. All you need to do is clone the page. So if you scroll down here, you'll notice that there's 3 little gray buttons, one on the left that says remove from funnel, and then 2 on the right that says delete funnel step and clone funnel step. We want to click clone funnel step. When you clicked Clone Funnel Step, you're going to create an exact replica of the page that you've already created. However, on the left-hand side, you'll notice that it has not been added to the funnel, and that's because it's right here in the drop-down menu. It has not been added to the funnel, though it has been created. So we want to scroll down here and just click this little blue button that says Add to Funnel. That's going to bring the clone of our page, this exact replica, right up underneath the original page. Now you'll notice that this one too, because it's an exact replica, also says Jackie Stoughton. However, we don't need 2 interview pages for Jackie. We're trying to create an interview page, one for every speaker. So instead, we're going to go back over to the Publishing tab and we're going to rename this funnel step for somebody else. Just like we did for Jackie, we want to update the funnel step name to the person's name that we want to feature on this landing page. I've come up with the fake name Deborah Smith, and we also want to change that path. So where we had Jackie-Stoughton before, now we have Deborah-Smith. Remember, consistency is going to be key here when creating those paths, because after a few days of watching Summit interviews, people might actually start to guess what the names of the links are, and we want them to be able to do that. We don't want to make it a mystery. We want to make it easy for them to be able to watch the interviews. So if all of a sudden you had Jackie-Stoughton, but then you had Deborah Smith with no dash, and then you had J Stoughton, and then you had DB Smith, it really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to people who are watching and trying to guess what the links are and trying to figure out how to watch. Make it consistent, make sure that every single path is exactly the same. Now don't forget to copy this path, because after we update the funnel step, we have to click this gear icon and make sure that we change everything here as well. And remember, you can just leave the webinar event time blank. We don't need to put anything there. Click Update Page, and then you can click the yellow Edit Page button, go into the page, and replace Jackie's name, replace the name of the talk, and replace her photo with that of this fake person, Deborah Smith, or in your case, whoever your second speaker is going to be. Okay, that's exactly how you set up all of the interview landing pages. You're going to repeat this process of cloning the page, changing the path so that each speaker has their own unique URL, and then updating by editing the page so that it has their picture and their name, and you're going to have ultimately at the end one interview speaker landing page for every single speaker on the summit. So if you have 30 speakers, you're going to have 30 pages in this funnel. If you have 15 speakers, you'll have 15 pages. And then later on in this course, when we talk about the event execution, I'm going to share with you all of the different ways in which we can execute and put up those videos for people to actually watch them on the summit when your event goes live.